72 original seals. One are called the Solomonic seals from the Lemegeton or greater key of King Solomon. Okay? The lesser key in the Necromonica speaks about the other two darker seals. Now, you know, we live in a state of duality here. It says in the beginning God creates the heavens and the universe. This we know. The Book of Kings and many other biblical source books speak about Solomon, the mystical king, who was one of God's prophets. He composed the Song of Solomon and also the Wisdom of Solomon. Now, the Wisdom of Solomon was recorded in the book called the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha was removed from most Bibles, actually. It speaks about St. Martha and the Dragon, the Wisdom of Solomon. These books were removed. Only the Catholics had this book. And in one of the books called the Wisdom of Solomon, it shows how God uses formula, a verbal formula, to create the known world. One of the greatest books to use, actually, as the Key of Solomon. This is the greater key. These would be used to enact angelic energies or angelic presences, okay? So, a little story for you. Who was King Solomon? Solomon was the wisest king who ever lived, okay? He literally was the embodiment of what's called Bina. If you guys are not familiar with the Tree of Life, I'll break it down for you really, really quickly, okay?
This is the best book that you recommend.
I recommend this book, The Key of Solomon. This is a translation from MacGregor Mathers, who was an occult philosopher, and this is a very good book. Of course, you can use the Lesser Key or the Necronomica. They utilize demons. Now, when people say demons, oh my God, they get scared. What do you mean demons? Why would you want to use demons? There are wrathful entities which are commissioned by God, that's right, to do the biddings. Now, of course, we're man. You know, we cannot go toe-to-toe with demonic energies. We cannot, unless we enlist heavenly protection. Now, there are demons, there are spirits, there are beings of other dimensions. This we know. We embody the totality of God's power. So, Solomon was a special man. He was from the direct line of King Saul into King David, who was the fabled king who slew the giant Goliath, remember? If you guys don't know, David showed love and compassion. But there were times when King David also did naughty things, like sleeping with Bathsheba, a woman who was not his. But their union caused them to conceive one of the greatest men who ever existed, King Solomon, great magician. Now, King Solomon took the throne at a very young age. To my understanding, it was about 8 or 9. And at the time, Jerusalem and we'll say Israel, the nation of Israel, was under a lot of poverty and interwarring, right? And Solomon was given wisdom. He asked God for wisdom to lead his people. He didn't ask for riches or wealth. He just asked for wisdom, and God granted him with this wisdom. From the age of around 12 onwards, King Solomon was just endowed with extreme wisdom, where men would travel for many miles just to speak to him. One story I was told growing up in Bible studies, they told us there was a dilemma where 2 women brought a child before King Solomon. They were arguing over this child. If many of you know the story or you don't, I'll just explain it again. And one child was stolen from the crib of the other because the mother had lost her child. So she switched places with another woman's child who was her neighbor. So they brought their plea before the king, and Solomon says, okay, divide the child in half then, and you can get a piece each. And at that moment, the mother, the true mother, said, you know what, just give her the child. Whereas the mother, who was the thief, she was sent to prison because Solomon knew that she wasn't willing to sacrifice herself. And so wisdom, like stories like that. There was another really cool story. In Solomon's chamber, there was a wise vizier named Asaph. And this story goes back from the Arabian Nights legends, because Solomon's fame spread out throughout the known land. Ancient Hebrew and ancient Arabic were all part of the Semitic languages. So yes, the Semitic language, it's not the same as the Hebrew we use nowadays, of course. It's an older variety of it. So naturally, the Muslims also would accredit their lineage to King Solomon, as they do Abraham, so on and so forth. So King Solomon and his vizier are presented with a dilemma. Solomon is having problems building his temple, and one of the reasons is the treasury is constantly being robbed, right? So Asaph, the vizier, says, Solomon, what are we to do? The treasury is being robbed. We can't complete this temple, and we don't have the manpower to pay for the labor. And so Solomon prays. He prays to God. He says, oh God, please reveal the culprit. And so Michael the archangel comes before him in his chambers, in his prayer chambers, and he presents him with a ring, a signet ring with the Star of David, with angelic seals around it. And he says, with this ring you have power over whomever you feel is dangerous or is lying to you. You have power over them, angels and demons, with this ring. So he places the ring on his middle finger, or his ring finger. Stories say it differently. And he demands that the demonic presence come forward. And he says, with this ring, you have to tell me, why did you steal the gems from my chamber? This demon was huge. It was an enormous apparition. It was about 36 feet high. And he holds the ring at the demon, and at once the demon freezes, and he said, in fright and terror, he says, oh no, get the ring away from me. He says, who are you? He says, my name is Ornus, the demon. He's the demon of fright and terror. And so he says, why are you stealing this treasure? And he says, wise king, you already know all things. And he says, no, explain it to me. Because in the beginning, when God separated the light and darkness, the original color spectrums were created. You guys are familiar with Roy G. Biv from red, orange, green, violet, yellow, indigo, blue, right? The original colors. The crystals were created in the earth at around that time. So crystals were part of the old mineral kingdom, and they have light inside of them. Now, demons, when they lost God's love, they also lost his light. So the demons eat gems. It's a part of their insatiable thirst. So this demon, Ornus and Osmosis and the others, were eating gems. And so Solomon had an idea. Instead of killing them, he bartered with them. He placed a replication of his ring's emblem on a paper or parchment, and he placed it around the demon's neck, and the demon swore allegiance to him. And he also employed the other demons to finish constructing his temple. So demons are on a lower density. Angels are on a very high density, but certain demons are meant to be employed according to the Solomonic legend. Some demons are good, some are evil. In Tibet, the story of demons are not the same. You see, this ideal of good and evil is a very Western concept. Everything must exist. For every matter, you have antimatter. For every angel, you have a demon. It's just, that's how it works. Of course, I'm not saying go worship demons or anything, because still they lost the favor of God. So they're on the lower plane of existence. So these books, again, the Lamagaton, Lesser Key, Greater Key, and Necromonicon, are all able to be purchased in stores. But I would, again, draw upon the Greater Key.